Hello and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Bee, where I talk to you about my slow handmade wardrobe. Now, I don't exactly know what it is lately with the fitting of my clothes, but I think I have just learned how I want my clothes to fit and look when I see myself in the mirror. So with my latest project, the Marigold trousers, I'm having some more fit issues. I knew when I was looking at inspiration photos on Instagram how the fit looked on other people, and I saw that in the front crotch area it was a little bit baggier than what I would like it to be on me. So I kind of knew going in that I would need to scoop out some of the crotch, but I thought, let me just make it as it is now, use this as kind of a wearable toile and see how I go from there. And if I would need to remove some of the front crotch, I could just scoop it out a little bit, even though it was mainly constructed. But now that I've actually tried it on, I feel like I look like a little bit of a clown in it. So I've added piping down the side seams as well, because I've had it in my stash for quite some time, I think 2 or 3 years now, and I was supposed to use it in a dress that I made for Christmas, but I completely forgot to put it in, and I wasn't going to unpick the seams just to put it then at the time. So it has been in my stash waiting for a project, and I thought now would be the perfect time. Since I've got red cherries on a navy background, I thought the red piping would look perfect on the side seams. The piping itself I feel is a little bit stiff, or stiffer than the fabric I'm using, so I feel like it doesn't help with it sticking out at the sides, and at the front there's definitely just too much fabric in the area. So I think the changes that I'm going to need to make for this is scoop out a little bit, but also bring in that crotch seam from the waistband all the way, scooping out the crotch. I don't want to unpick the waistband, remove the elastic and kind of redo the whole trousers, because they're so simple, there's not many seams. If I do unpick that area, I'm basically starting from zero, so I don't want to do that. I just want to see how I go with basting first the change that I want to make, see if that works, and then if it does, then I'll stitch it down properly. I really love the construction of the trousers, super simple. I loved inserting piping for the first time in a garment, which was also really nice to work with, and I just need to finish the hem. I did say last week that if I did finish these trousers, I would start on my next project, which is the indigo dress, but I don't exactly know where my mind was thinking that I would finish this completely in 1 week to be able to start a new project. Having said that though, I did trace out my size in the indigo dress. I decided to go with a size 2 because my bust currently measures 32.5 inches, and because there's quite a bit of ease in the indigo, I thought going with the size 2, which is a 32-inch bust, would be just fine. I'm also considering straightening out the seam where the bodice meets the skirt, because I want to create a channel to insert elastic to bring it in at the waist, but I'll only make that change once I'm ready to actually cut out my fabric. The fabric that I still have in mind for that one is the green viscose chalet, but I don't know if my mind's gonna change until then, so let's just see what happens. Other than that, I have made a matching Paphos pouch this week to go with my Marigold trousers, and I just love the pop of red that I've been putting in these projects lately. So I had to add a red ruffle for this one, the same as the red piping that I added on the side seam, and I think this just looks so good. I love a pop of red, especially on a navy background, and I also love seeing red with purple, red and pink, red and cream as well. I just think it just makes it look so lively. I just love it. It is so eye-catching for me. I've actually only recently started using red ever since I started sewing, because red was a color that I stayed away from primarily because of my dad. Red was always associated to bad luck for him. Maybe I think it was in his friends and in his personal life as well. When bad things would happen, there would normally be the color red within the picture. So he always used to steer away from the color red, and that kind of rubbed off on me as well, and I used to stay away from the color too. But ever since I started sewing, I've just loved including red bits here and there in certain projects. I decided to go with a smaller version of the Paphos pouch for this one, so that I could carry it around when I'm wearing my trousers, and just to put my mobile phone and my keys inside. I didn't put the interior separation in this one, I just did the plain lining, and I added an antique brass colored zipper at the top. The only thing that I was like about is I had to add a silver D-ring, because I didn't actually have a antique brass colored one. It's barely visible, and I don't think you'd be able to tell if I didn't call your attention to it, or if you weren't looking too long at the bag. But I really love how this one came out. Again, I just love how red and navy looks together. I will leave a link in the description box below to my website, so you can go and have a look if you'd like to make a Paphos pouch or even a Roman necessaire for yourself, because I now have 2 patterns on my website designed by me. So my sewing plans this week is to sort out the front crotch of my Marigold trousers, as well well as hem them, and then hopefully move on to the indigo dress. But of course only time will tell, because the kids are on school holidays and I don't exactly know how much time I will have this week. Now for a little update on my knitting project. I have spotted a mistake and I'm quite frustrated that I didn't notice this earlier on. Somehow I have managed to twist one of the cables in the wrong direction, and I don't exactly know how I managed to do that, because the more I look at it, the more I can see that I have pulled the cable to the front and knitted it, yet there's something funny going on here. I don't exactly understand what I did. I don't think it's that noticeable though, because if I didn't notice it a while ago, like I only noticed it yesterday or 2 days ago, I don't think you would be able to see it when you looked at it, unless I called your attention to it. So I have been thinking, do I frog all of those rows all the way to the beginning, or can I just let it be and go with it? Because I'm thinking if I have to frog all of these rows, that is 8 stitches altogether that I have to undo, plus I have 1, 2, 3 cables that I have to undo as well, and kind of remember in which rows. So I have to count again which rows I need to transfer, so which rows I need to make those cables. That is the bit that is worrying me the most, is making sure that I'm counting right and putting the cables, twisting them in the right spots. I am very tempted to just let it go as it is, especially because this is the back panel and I will not necessarily be looking at it too much. So I'm still on the fence about it, but I'm leaning more towards the side of just let it be. I have a few more rows to go, another cluster of bobbles, and then I just need to finish off the shoulders. Then I can add the back and front together and then commence on the sleeves. Currently I've used up 4 skeins to construct the front and back bodice, and I have another 4 or 5 skeins to complete the rest, which I think is definitely more than enough. I've also used the last bit of my silver thread that I used in a previous sweater. I think it was called the Jasmine sweater with the bobbles from Rita Made This. So I used up the last bits of that, and I'm using now a new reel or spool, or however you'd call this one. And I'm probably gonna have a lot left over from here as well, perfect for another project. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because if you are thinking of adding silver thread to one of your knit projects, you really don't need a lot of silver thread, because there's a lot of meterage on there. You would probably get maybe even a medium or a large size sweater out of this one, but of course do check the meterage required for the sweater or the pattern you are working on and see how much is on here, because I don't exactly remember how much is on there. Last week I told you that I started a new job, so I am working at Leon's Fabrics and I'm there every Friday. I am loving working there, just looking at all of that fabric for the whole day. My mind is blowing with inspiration, and I'm always looking at the sequins, thinking about skirts or bomber jackets, and then I'm looking at the wools, thinking about what jackets I can make for winter. My mind is just constantly going the whole day with potential projects I could make with those fabrics. I also want to thank Lucy and Deborah for saying hi to me last week Friday. Because I'd never met you before, I would have never known who you were had you not said hello. So it was so lovely meeting you just before you come to one of my events. And also, speaking of events, I am going to be hosting my 7-year sewing celebration at Janome headquarters, if you haven't heard of that before, and it's going to be on the 5th of November. I now have 5 sponsors, and I wanted to let you know who they are. They are Janome, Minerva, Sew Over Tilly and the Buttons, and William G or William G. Not entirely sure how you pronounce that, but I am so grateful for all of these sponsors. It is going to be a full day of sewing, so from 10 to 4 o'clock you will have access to a Janome sewing machine, and there will be lots of drinks and food as well to keep you going. In the meantime, I do still have spaces on my monthly Sew and Bond events for October, November and December, and I will leave a link in the description box below in case you are able to get to one of those. Let me know in the comments, what are you currently working on, or what are your summer sewing plans, because I would just love to know, because I am just that little bit nosy. That's it for me today. Bye for now.